Riyaz!
Hey, Napali.
It's been a journey to get to this moment right here.
Yeah, do you want to give a little rundown of our trials and tribulations to get to this moment?
No, not really. Like, I feel like I almost want to just forget that it ever happened.
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much just set it up perfectly, and I walked in 30 minutes ago, and we're here.
Yeah,
Just,
nothing went wrong. Do you believe in omens?
um, no, not really. I
So,
don't.
like, this whole failure to set up in, like, a timely manner was not a bad omen?
Okay, honestly, this kind of went just as expected in my head. The issue was that the solution was far too simple for where we are as adults. But in general, I did expect way more. Like it actually worked really well. The just setting up everything. Like
Right.
it was very mechanical. Just plug things in, make sure the power's on, and then it works.
Do you want to give the rundown of, like, what happened then?
We just spent pretty much an hour without putting the on switch on.
Yeah.
That's pretty much
Trying
it.
to figure out why the mics weren't working. It got nice mics, got a soundboard. This is legit. We're doing it. And could not figure it out, only to have Harris come down and tell us that the power wasn't on the soundboard. So,
Yeah.
my pessimism did tell me that this was not going to be easy. But I
hmm
was, like you were saying, I was hoping it was going to be something that was more like challenging than just not realizing the power switch wasn't flipped on.
Yeah. I mean, because it did work out like there was no issues with the audio, which was really nice. It was
Yeah.
just it wasn't picking things up because for me the audio issues have been really bad in the past. It's like audio crackling, but yeah, no, it's pretty good.
From your streaming days?
Yeah, from
Is
the
this giving you PTSD a little bit?
a little no, because I kind of enjoy troubleshooting as long as it doesn't get horrible. Horrible is
Okay.
when you've scoured the internet and everything doesn't work and
Yeah.
just things there's just no answers. For here, everything was plugged in and it was fine. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, people have been asking, what is Dirty Waters and who are Dirty Waters?
Who are Dirty
Who
Waters?
are Dirty Waters?
Well, Dirty Waters is us. We are Dirty Waters.
hmm
Do you want to do like a little bio? Like, should I insert my business,
Yeah,
my LinkedIn picture right here? Or
yeah. I think you should. I think you should tell the people what you're about.
so it's funny because we recorded those like
Season one.
season one,
Yeah,
and we probably did like a really good intro. So in my head, we don't need to introduce ourselves because
yeah.
we're like
Okay, so how about
in
since
it.
season one? Because there's been a hiatus due to the writer's strike and just a whole bunch of stuff.
Exactly.
We had to downgrade the team, but now from season one till season two, what do you think has changed?
I need a lot more therapy now. I
hmm
think that, this podcast is coming at a good time where I can forego actual therapy and then just use this to like
Yeah.
make you my therapist and make everyone who listens, which is probably just going to be our blood relatives,
Mhm.
to be the audience.
Yeah, there's something a captive audience.
A captive
Yeah.
audience,
Yeah.
exactly.
If like the numbers go from like 3 monthly listeners to two, we're calling.
Yeah.
We're figuring it out.
It,
We're
it
putting Sonali on the case. Who did it? She's the perfect investigative journalist that can
yeah,
get the answers.
right. And really we would know that the only two that were left is going to be you and I because we know that I'm going to be listening
Yeah.
to this podcast. But yeah, no, I'm excited to have a podcast. I feel like we've always had really this feels right, like this having a podcast together feels right. Like I feel like there's just things in life where like this is what you're
Yeah.
supposed to be doing. I feel like since we were younger, like we were just on the same page, and it was a weird page. Like nobody else was on that page.
Yeah. Because that's what I think about, and like that's why I included it in the wedding officiation of like where it's like we always would perform even if they asked us to stop. Right, it's like that's the vibe I get, and I think
Yeah,
I meant it as a captive audience, and I think we almost thrive in that. This is like an anti-humor sense
yeah,
where it's like it's kind of meta. It's like
yeah.
we know what we're doing.
We have this really strange like way of I think having a very serious, meaningful take on life while also just zoning in on the most inane, useless details that usually bring us the most joy. And also, in case somebody who's not a blood relative has accidentally stumbled upon this podcast, Riyaz officiated. Riyaz is my cousin, and he officiated my wedding because I'm married to Riyaz's best friend. So that's the context there. So to go back a second, you said you don't believe in omens, particularly bad omens, I guess.
No, not even good omens as well, I would say. To me, it's just things happen and we kind of assign our human values to them to make sense, to say, like, there's a pattern here, right? But I think sometimes we can throw in our own little human biases, or just we want to find meaning when there might not be. And that's more of like a personal philosophy, you know. There could very well be a meaning, but that's just my subjective take on things. But yeah, I think it's just, you know, like there could be a howling wind one day and it knocks over a chair, and it's like that could be horrible luck if that's your favorite chair.
Yeah.
Or, you know, maybe we could be betting on it. I think it'll knock over in the first hour. Now I win $100 from that bet, and now that wind knocking over a chair is fantastic luck for me. But it's really perspective. It's really just, you know, the context of the situation, but from this third world, or not third world, like a third person perspective, right? From like an omnipotent God's perspective, it's just wind knocking over an object. The chair might not have any value to someone who doesn't sit.
Yeah.
Right. So it's really like, that's my view on omens. It's like the context matters. And so once I remove myself from the context, it's just things happening. And now I take that as feedback.
Yeah.
For moving forward.
Interesting. I definitely believe in omens. Like,
okay.
not explicit. Like, I feel like I don't believe in omens. Like, I don't think everything means something. But I definitely, like, I had to fight, you know, like, trying to set up this sound equipment and being like, oh, this is already hard. I had to, like, fight that part of me that's like, this is a bad sign. Just quit now. Like, I don't believe that things, just because they start bad, are gonna continue to be bad.
Yeah.
But I definitely have a part of myself that I have to fight that's like, oh, just this is not a good sign. Already off to a rough start. Like, the type of like, if I start my day and, like, let's say I, like, trip on my way out of bed, like, my day is shot. That's it for me. I don't know if that's an omen though. Like, does that count as an omen or just general negativity?
I mean, it can just be like, yeah, it ruins the vibes for the rest of the day. Like, you maybe have a lot of momentum, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's tough to, there's no, like, volatility. It doesn't just switch back and forth. It's just, if it's going good, maybe it keeps on going good or well. And then if it's bad, it just keeps on going bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like, yeah, something bad happens and you're, well, this is just a bad day now. Maybe it's some sort of determinism that you set on the day. So I don't know. Yeah, it could be like an omen, kind of.
I guess so. Because I'm sure that there are people out there who, like, really think, like, when they think omen, they think, like, this is a sign from God that, like, this is either the right path or not the right path. So
yeah, I think your example of, like, setting up the podcasting equipment and it not going well, that's kind of like an omen, I would say. Yeah, where it's like, okay, this is going bad. I've lost. Well, I don't know. Is that an omen or is that just losing hope? You know, or it's like, you know, if you're doing scratch off lotteries and you keep winning, you're like, this is going well. It's not like an omen. It's just like, omen, oh, right. Let's go, boys.
Yeah. Well, the chair example you said about, like, well, it's just wind. I think like, do you think that it is, like, our responsibility to interpret things a certain way? To, like, remember that, like, we are just assigning intention to things? Like, is that, like, a philosophical thing for you, that you're like, oh, nothing has intention and I, like, have the power to decide if it's going to be, you know, like, a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, for me, I differentiated between, like, subjectivity and objectivity. So it's like, on a subjective level, I think it definitely matters, right? If a chair gets blown in the wind and breaks my car window, that very much so matters. It wasn't just some, like, oh, I'm just from this holy stance, I'm sitting in full lotus, levitating, going, it's just a car window, man. Like, no, I am livid.
Yeah.
I am dreading it. I have to go into so many different places, get it repaired, and it's going to look off. And it's like, I'm mad. I'm very upset. But like from an objective point of view, I guess it doesn't matter. And sometimes I guess, removing yourself from the situation, it's like when you meditate in some guided meditations, they'll say just observe things, right? It's like I look at it in the same way. It can help, but subjectively and in like the human experience, it absolutely matters,
Yeah.
I would say. What were we talking about?
Omens.
Omens. Yeah. Is that a good omen or a bad one?
I feel like it's all bad. Like, but I was asking you about, like, if you think that if omens are really like a philosophical thing.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like partially believing in omens says a lot about you as a person. Like, if you are willing to believe that something can indicate a guaranteed outcome, then you're probably not really willing to, like, try to do something to change the situation.
Yeah.
Which a lot of times I feel like is me. I'm like, oh, this is already fucked. Like, I'm not even going to attempt to change the outcome.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a lot of, I think that people who get what they want or are like happy with their situation are probably more people in the camp of like, even if something seems like it's not starting in a certain way, that they have the power to change it or like try to overcome it.
Yeah. So I guess it kind of goes into the realm of like superstition to a degree, right?
Interesting.
Like omens, it's just because it's that idea that things just are and they're flowing in a certain way and in a certain direction, right? It's not like the world is just moving aimlessly. It's like when you have this negative premonition or something, or even a positive feeling, it's this notion that it's moving in this direction. Things are bad and they're going to get bad or worse, right? And it's going to continue being bad.
Right.
So I feel like that's like it's feeling this superstition, this superstitious feeling that things are moving in that direction. So it's like it's not that like all things are equal or as balanced or they're in your control. It's like they're not. So I guess for me, I kind of just look at the world in percentages. Unless the stakes are too high, it's like always just make the high percentage play.
Yeah.
But, if it's like, all right, can I make this turn or not? Right? I want to go 100% and not do a high percentage play. The stakes are too high, so I have to. It has to be more of a case by case, right? If I'm like, can I make a left turn in the highway or a U-turn, right? No, probably not, right? So that's a case by case. It's not like, well, I don't see anyone. That's a high percentage. I'll survive. It's like, no, that the stakes are too high. But for the average day, if you're turning an assignment or going to work, or you're gonna see if you're gonna go for a promotion or something, like then I'll just like, yeah, it's a high percentage play. Like shoot your shot, and make sure it's like a good percentage. And as long as you're like batting a 70 or something, like you'll in the end you'll kind of be ahead. Is my philosophy in a sense, regardless of omens or how I feel. I kind of try to remove myself and just do the high percentage play. And that kind of helps me in a sense because it's almost like it's in God's hands now type of thing, It's like I'm no longer, my feeling doesn't matter. If there's something I want, there's tangible steps to get there and just do what should work. And of course, if you're happy or not, that's going to matter. But it's like, all right, it's working, but I'm not happy. And it's like, all right, let's switch up the formula. But overall, I kind of move towards just, does it make sense objectively in my context and everything? And if it does, just go for it.
So then I would assume you like don't believe in luck either then.
Kinda, but like in a more formulaic way, as in like there are just like sometimes you're killing it on that day, like I don't know the full body chemistry of it or at all or anything like that, but some days you wake up and it's just you got some kick to your step and you can't explain it. The therapist might not be able to explain it. Maybe you have to have your brain scanned or something, but some days it just works. You're just having a good day. And there are, of course, bad days. I remember one friend telling me about, like luck and averages and how there's like some fighter pilots, right? And the instructors, when someone was having a bad day, the instructors would yell at them, and they were like, "Yes, this works. This helps them get back." Sorry, let me go back. People be having a bad day, flying poorly, right? And then the instructor would yell at them, and then the next day they would perform better, right? And the instructors were like, yeah, it's because I'm yelling at them. I'm doing X, Y, Z. And it's like, no, what actually was happening was they just had a bad day. And the next day they just performed average. And it was just moving from a bad day to normal. So that's kind of like luck in that sense to me. That's the way I view it. I'm probably paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But it's like sometimes you just have a bad day. And on bad days, you'll perform worse. And because you perform worse, things go poorly.
Yeah.
And that's my like concept of luck, I guess, in at least one facet of it.
So would you say that luck is like a label you retroactively apply to a situation? Like, or do you think like it's a kind of an active thing that happens to people? Like, would you say, I'm trying to think of another example, like, you can look back on something and label it as like this was a kind of like good and bad, I guess. Like you don't know if you're having a good day or a bad day, but you can look back and like label something like, oh, this was a good day or this was a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say like luck is the same where like it's not actively happening, like you're not to use the plain example, it's not luck that's helping you fly well, um but you could have had a lucky situation. I don't know, are you getting what I'm saying, or am I not making sense to
Kinda.
anyone in
I
this
mean,
room?
yeah, I think for me, the actionable, like, I think luck is kind of like the weather. It just kind of changes here and there. And sometimes, I don't know, you can't really predict it.
Mm.
But I guess for me, like, my actionable response to luck is just understanding the situation and how things are going. Like, I'm thinking of video game examples where it's kind of like poker. And in these like poker like scenarios, it's more about reacting to your luck. Like there's
Mm.
other players who might have better luck than you or worse luck than you, and it's like, all right, if I have a lucky hand, how do I use this lucky hand to my best advantage, right? And like poker, there might be some hands you just can't win,
Mm.
right? And the best you can do is get out early or cut your losses, damage control, right? So it's like that. It's like sometimes you're like if races were luck based, sometimes it's like, all right, let's just finish in the middle of the pack. If
Mm-hmm.
you're having the worst scenarios, for some reason you're so dehydrated, you have a bad hair day, right? Things just aren't going for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's like, all right, finish middle of the pack. That's it. That's if you finished middle of the pack, you played really well,
Yeah.
right? Like with everything said and done, middle of the pack, even though you're someone who could finish first, middle of the pack was a really good play for you.
Yeah.
So that's like my response to luck. Bad luck, damage control, good luck, use like use everything you can to get the most out of it.
Yeah. I feel like I think people conflate luck and skill a lot, though.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people are happy to pass off skill as luck because
Yes.
they don't want to put in the amount of work that's necessary to appear lucky,
Mm-hmm.
like to have everything work out for you.
Yeah.
But I also think that there is such thing as luck. Like I do think that there are lucky people. Like I don't think that like religiously, like I don't think it about everybody, but I feel like I'm probably like middle of the pack. Like sometimes I get really lucky, sometimes I get really unlucky. But I
Okay.
wouldn't say I'm a lucky person, but I know people who are like lucky people. Like they're the person who like they're gonna go somewhere and be like the 1,000th customer that gets like the free coffee, or they're
Yeah.
gonna like go to pay their taxes, and it's like, you know what, sir, like you were really nice to me today, so like you don't have to pay your taxes, or like some, that was probably a poor example, but like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like some people just have that, or like stuff works, and I don't know if it's karma or if it's luck that has nothing to do with like morals or ethics. But I think that there are lucky people, and I also think that there are unlucky people. Like I'm the person who always gets like the wrong order at a restaurant,
Yeah. Right.
or like I don't know, gets like every red light. Like I'm not like staying up at night thinking about it, but I do think like in general I'm not a lucky person. But to your point, like I know now, check the bag when I get like drive through.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't drive away until I've checked the order, and half the time I'm missing something. So like I think that's also like you can perceive a situation as luck. Like I could be like, "Oh, I'm really unlucky." Or I could probably just be realistic about the fact that like in a fast food drive-through scenario, the people packing those bags probably aren't like putting 100% like love and care into every order. So like the chances of me missing something in my order are pretty high, and it has nothing to do with the universe. It's more just like statistically likely to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it could also be like it could be a little bit of like a confirmation bias,
Mm,
where it's like you're just noticing the unlucky parts. But
true.
if you contrast it with the lucky, all the green lights, like, when you hit a streak of green lights, you're like, wow, that was awesome. And then 2 minutes later, you forget about it.
Yeah.
You hit every single red light, you're texting someone like, this sucks. Why am I always late for work because of these red lights? But then, the other 12 days, you're fine.
Yeah.
it's like it could be some of that, and then yeah, no, I agree though. Like there's some, it feels like there's definitely some luck, you know, like if someone's like, let's just say, born to a really like affluent family and their parents are really caring and loving and conscientious of their needs, and they still give them enough like opportunity to grow and risk, like I would say that's pretty good luck, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess for me, I try not to think too much about the things I can't control all the time,
Fair.
and because it's like despite that, where am I gonna go from there? You know, like what? Because like if it's the same concept to me, where it's like, all right, if you're born lucky, what are you gonna do with that, right? Because you can there's still that wiggle room, there's still that range of what you can do, right? Like
Right.
if you're born to this incredible situation, maybe that's your calling to do incredible things, right? And maybe if you're born to a horrible situation, it's like you know, just do your best and see where you get to, right? Like, of course, there's a lot of cases of people just killing it, but I don't
Right.
know. I guess it's all. I'm always trying to think of what you can do, what's in your control, because I think when I start to think of what's out of my control, I get more doom and gloom, and so it's like I'm in bed doom scrolling, and you know, just not doing. I'm just not helping myself.
Well, I think this podcast is here to challenge you in that because that's all I think about. And that's probably all I'm going to ask you about are
Yeah.
all the dark things in the world that I need to think through. And we're going to do it on the podcast.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Because okay, I have a different kind of in the same vein of your your perception on such a weak cough. So, you know, he's trying to
I'm
be
trying
quiet.
to not
It was
get the
just
cough picked up in the mic.
it's just really it's really nice of you, but I was like, oh my, she's frail. So,
I was channeling my inner Victorian.
yeah. Um, yeah. Okay. I was thinking of like one thing I was maybe a few weeks ago. I was thinking about was like, do you prefer to have good dreams or bad dreams? And that sounds easy answer, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it's like when I have a good dream, I start to just when I wake up, there's that contrast. For me, that's my bad omen. Where it's
Okay.
like I have a great dream and then I wake up and it's like it wasn't real. It was fake. And now I live or not that my entire morning is just like I didn't have that. And so it's going from good to bad, you know. And
Yeah.
so whereas if I have a nightmare or a bad dream or I wake up in a sweat or something, I'm
Mm.
so relieved to be out of that. I'm so happy and elated to know, ooh, it wasn't real. I get to now live my day
Yeah.
knowing that this horrible situation doesn't occur. And like for me, sometimes I'll wake up from a good dream and just be sad it wasn't real.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's depressing, but
No,
it's like
yeah.
I feel that, and it's just there's just such a it's so like clear cut. Good dreams great, nightmares horrible, but it's like I've had a decent amount of nightmares in my life,
Yeah.
and I just like I'm always so happy it's over, and then because it's over, I get to like go through my day knowing
So
it's
you would choose
over.
bad dreams?
Sometimes, because when it's so unfulfilling knowing that your beautiful whimsical fantasy isn't real. It's so like, wow, I
Yeah.
don't have that beautiful car and my, you know, my career is just exactly where I want it. I'm just about to eat one of my favorite meals, and then I
Yeah.
wake up hungry and cold, knowing I have to cook and leave for work in an hour and a half.
Your life sounds really depressing.
No, but it's just like that's what I think of when I'm, you know,
I know,
coming
but you're
down.
just making it sound like you're waking up in like the dungeon from Count of Monte Cristo. You're like, you're living in like South Windsor. Like, you're
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, no, just yeah, my skin sticks to the cold
Yeah.
steel. You know?
He's sleeping on like the stone floor. Like,
Yeah,
no.
I'm just so happy to have 40-degree water. No. No, but it's like that's what I think of when I'm
Yeah.
coming down from that high of a good
Yeah.
dream. I don't know. How do you feel? Because we're talking about all these omens and how you're so like doom and gloom almost.
Yeah.
But how do you
That's
feel?
a really good question. I think it tells a lot about a person because for a really long time, I never set goals for myself for this exact same reason. Like thinking about what I wanted to achieve just reminded me that I didn't have it yet.
Hmm.
And like that was almost more discouraging than like just going out and getting it.
Yeah.
Or like setting the goal for myself so I would try to work towards it. I think that my answer would be I would choose the good dreams.
Okay.
And it's a really interesting that you asked that, because I just saw this TikTok the other day about this guy who was like, the little skit was that he was pretending to be like a singer at a concert, like how like all of us at one point in our lives have pretended to like perform
Mhm.
like in the shower or like wherever it was. Like you were the one on the stage. That like hairspray was like your microphone and you were giving the performance of your lifetime. And someone in the comments was like you keep doing that. Like it doesn't matter if you're like 28 years old, like your brain doesn't know that you're not actually on stage giving the performance of a lifetime.
Yeah.
So like you're just giving yourself like that experience and that dopamine rush, like, and it's working.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's the good dreams for me. Like my brain, while I do have that moment of like waking up and having to realize like, oh, I'm not like married to Henry Cavill or something like that.
Pretty close.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Not quite exact. Like he's not dressing as the Witcher 24/7.
Yeah, but he's Navi.
Like I have to still come to terms with that, but I had that for like a moment, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas like with the dark dreams, it's the same thing but in reverse. Like I had to go through all of that. My brain didn't know like I wasn't actually being like tortured or chased or kidnapped or whatever. And so I wake up and it's like that's like one of those examples of my day feels shot because I just like, especially if it's like a stressful work dream or something and then you have to go to work. Yeah, so I feel like either way my dreams feel very much part of my experience. So I would rather experience like the good things than the bad ones.
Because that was kind of like when I was thinking of that question, I was like, it's a little bit, it's a mix of like glass half full or glass half empty, and then also, is it better to have loved and to have lost than to have like loved at all, right?
Wow.
You know, because that's pretty much what it is. It's like you get to love in your dreams whatever that love is, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, when you, I guess, oh yeah, I don't know. Overall, I have like a weird relationship with that. So those sort of highs where it's like, even after like a really like big performance or something, whether in whatever facet, it's like afterwards, like if I work super hard for something and I nail it, afterwards I feel depressed. It's almost like a postpartum depression type of thing with achievements, where it's like after I do it, I'm just like, oh, it's over. Like I peaked, you know, and so the rest until the next peak, I'm in a lull.
No, I definitely ride that high for a long time.
Do you?
Yeah. In fact, I'm probably like still riding the highs of some of the stuff that have probably expired by now. Like I should stop considering that a recent achievement. Like that happened in high school. That was like 10 years ago.
That time on crew.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because I try to get over it, but yeah, I don't know. I like, it happens fast for me. It's like as soon as it happens, I know it's going downhill.
Huh.
And I just instantly get depressed.
I feel that way at parties.
Okay.
I'm such an extrovert, so I love parties. I love having a full house. Not like with random people, but like with people with like my friends and people that I care about. And I feel like when a party is coming to a close and I know people are like getting ready to start leaving, I start getting like sad. It's like I'm already like, darn, like everyone left even though they're all still there. Yeah. I'm like, I just don't want it to end. And then like the next day I'm depressed instead of just like enjoying the fact that like, oh, I got like this day with like people and it was so great and so much fun. I'm just like, I want that again immediately. So I'm like depressed the next day.
You're extroverted, right? Because I think I'll get depressed after a party, but that's because I'm like socially drained. Not depressed, but it's like I don't have much to give the next
that's
day
fair.
or two.
That's fair.
I don't know but if you're extroverted, so it's just you kind of going down fast.
Or maybe I am introverted and I just think like, oh, I miss it so much, but I actually hated it. But I think it's more that I would be happy if everybody just lived here forever. Like that would be fine with me.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird.
I think with the dreams thing too, what I was thinking about is that not only do I think that dreams are part of your experience, like your brain is processing a dream the way it thinks that you actually experienced it, but I also feel like I definitely do believe that dreams mean something. I don't
Yes.
think every dream means something. Like,
I
I
hope
think
not.
some dreams are just out of left field. But I do think that there's a lot of times where I wake up from a dream and I'm like, oh, that was like not so subtle. Like, my brain telling me I'm anxious about something, or if it's like work related. And I used to never have dreams about things that were actually happening like in real time. Like, let's say I had like a test the next day. I would never have a dream that like, oh, I failed the test or something like that. Like, it would never correlate that directly.
Mhm.
Now as an adult, that happens to me all the time. Like, if I'm stressed about something, it'll be in my dreams.
Mm.
But I feel like dreams are significant, which I feel like makes it even more like I would not want that. If I had to choose, I would choose a positive dream over a negative dream,
Yeah.
because I don't want, I would hope I would be in a place where I was able to like be in a positive space, versus like the negative dreams kind of indicate to me that like I'm not in a good space when I'm awake.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think have my relationship with dreams is probably more indicative of a bigger problem. You know, because it's like it's also you don't want to just that can't be a relationship to positivity, right?
Like, your happy dreams are your only happiness.
No, or it's just like yeah, it's like oh, it's like I don't get the best, therefore I should feel sad. You know,
Oh
like
yeah,
that's like not a
yeah,
good
that's
relation.
true.
It's like when I say that now I'm realizing it. It's more. It should be more of a like work on that. It's
Yeah.
like it's not like be happy that you experienced it, and
Yeah.
experience other things because there's some sort of internal comparison that's going on there, right?
Right.
Between the present and the past.
Right.
And that's not a good way to view the past, right?
True.
Because you could always be doing that if you go further back beyond the scope of 2 hours after you wake up, right? So yeah, I guess that is something you should probably look further back and think about. Yeah, because it's this comparison of happiness, which is like a dangerous road to go down.
True.
But yeah, that's one of those things though, where it's like it makes sense logically, but the feeling is tough to change, right?
Yeah.
Like ideally, of course, just experience good things, and once you're done experiencing them, move on to the next thing and live life happily. Not, wow, it's not as good as it was 2 seconds ago, therefore I'm not as happy, right? That's not.
Yeah.
But the feeling is tough to change, I guess.
The idea of choosing between good and bad dreams is interesting to me. I don't know if you meant it in terms of like, would you choose to only have good dreams or only
Oh
have
no,
bad
no, yeah,
dreams?
yeah, no, that
But
would be dangerous.
but like that concept, I've been thinking about that a lot recently too, about like, would you, I guess the role that not being able to choose has in life.
Mhm.
And like, would you, I feel like all of us, or I'm gonna butcher this, like, the given the choice, I think a lot of people would say they would happily wipe out all their bad experiences. Like, if someone was like, would you rather have like bad experiences sometimes or never? People, I feel like my gut reaction would be like, never.
Mhm.
But I mean, I was thinking about this earlier when we were like struggling to set up this podcast equipment. Like, what, like, bad things and challenges are so important for resilience. And it sucks in the moment, but I really think that like if they didn't exist, then we would not be strong or smart. Which sounds obvious, and I hate when people are like, "Oh, you need like the bad times to appreciate the good." Like, no, I feel like I would be able to like be just fine if like I only had the good times.
Hmm.
But I also feel like recently there's been like, I feel like there's like, it's like a bell curve of like, there's a sweet spot where you want like your challenges to be like, they need to be hard enough that you have to put in some effort, but easy enough that you can actually attain them and it's not like an impossible task.
Mhm.
And if you can do that and still overcome the challenge, then like you're probably smarter, you probably obtained skills, and then you're probably going to feel good about yourself because you did something really hard. Versus like if everything comes easy, I think it leaves a lot of room for like questioning and like feeling inadequate or existential crisis, whatever it is. But do you think like, do you think you have to have bad times in life?
Yes and no, which sucks as an answer.
Oh, I feel
But
like that's my answer too.
yeah,
So yeah.
it's like I feel yeah, because I don't know how to process it fully. Because like if you, it all depends on the semantics. Like if you only have good times, it can be pursued a few different ways. Like does that mean you're only succeeding, Or does that mean like in those scenarios where you could be having a bad time, you're just still loving life,
Mm.
right? So it is almost like do you see that movie About Time?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like I mean, not to
That
spoil
that
too
might be
much.
my favorite movie, by
It's
the way.
my top like 15 or something, top 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the ending of that movie. The conclusion, essentially, without spoiling too much, is just it's about going through every day as if it was
It's
like your
about
second
time.
day. Yeah, it's kind of about time, you know. Yeah, it's pretty much going through your day as if it was like your second pass through, and you're just trying to love
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
So if you're living life like that, you're never having those horrible times, you know, unless a howling wind throws a chair through your car window, right?
Right.
Then you're having a really bad
Right.
time. But yeah, if you're in a great headspace, then yeah, I think you can have very limited bad times.
Mm-hmm.
You can really reduce it. Because I was also thinking when you were talking about that, it's like, do you have the capacity to be positive in a bad time? I think that's really about a lot of different factors in life.
Mm.
You know, like if you were troubleshooting this, right, and it wasn't Sunday, instead it was Monday after work, I think you're having a way worse time.
Yeah.
But you know, it was like even though we still weren't like elated that things weren't working, it's like we still had good company. We're still working through it. It seems like we're making progress. So it's like it's fine. But
Yeah.
if you're alone on a cold South Windsor Wednesday, you know, then it's probably you're having a bad time. So I think context matters, but it's
Yeah.
also are you able to be in the driver's seat? You know, are you the one controlling your emotions or is it the other way around? So if
Right.
your emotions are controlling you, then I think you're way more subject to a bad time.
Yeah. I think that was actually one of the things I wrote down to talk about was
Mm-hmm.
like I was thinking about this the other day that I was thinking about like silver linings and people like this whole like everything happens for a reason. I don't believe that everything happens for a reason. But I do believe that if you are able to get something out of every situation, regardless of how it turns out, you are going to be like ahead of the people who decide that they can only walk away with something meaningful from like situation A. And if
Mm-hmm.
anything happens, like situation B or C, then like that's not what they wanted, and there's nothing that they can take from that. And I'm not like a perfect example of being able to do that, but I think that that's like what I aspire to get to is whatever situation I find myself in, can I find something that I can take away from that so that I don't have to, it doesn't have to be complete wash. Like if, if the chair flies through your windshield,
Mm-hmm.
like you probably get a new windshield because a lot of times it's covered by insurance.
Yeah.
Like try to give yourself like I would give myself a pat on the back for like having car insurance. Like, okay, wow, I did it. I did a good job on that. I did the adult thing. And maybe I needed to like get my seats cleaned and I've been putting it off and now it's not and now it's out of my hands. Like I have to get it cleaned. There's glass everywhere. Like, okay. Like
Mm-hmm.
now my seats are clean. And
Yeah.
it's not even like putting a positive spin on it, just like, okay, what can I, instead of dwelling on the past and trying to think about what should I have done differently, because I think I also do that. I just think about what I could have done something to prevent this, and I start to beat myself up. I'm just like try to draw a line in the sand and be like, no, there's nothing that can change now, but like, what am I going to do from here on out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of like that. I don't know, because I like to do that as well. Where what could I have done to prevent this, but not in so much like I don't want to like victim blame myself or any
Mm,
victims in that scenario. But it's also I almost like if you take a scientific approach, right, where it's like, all right, maybe I could have checked the forecast and seen if there's howling south winds or winds, and then maybe I could have put my chairs, you know, stored them safely in a shed or something.
yeah.
Like I think that's like a positive spin if you remove the negativity and just moving forward of like, let's just improve and be my best self for next time.
Yeah.
I think that's good, but yeah, I think there's diminishing returns as well if you ruminate and just go, "Oh, this is my fault. I messed up. I'm a dumbass. I shouldn't have done this." And
That's me.
okay, okay, got it, yeah.
And I think that's where though the like thinking about what do like bad situations, what role do they play in life, and how much should we wish that we could eliminate them comes into play. because in a lot of ways, I feel like I've gone to this point where I believe like every bad situation can be prevented.
Hmm.
Obviously, like not 100% a bad situation, like can't stop a tornado, but like this idea that at this point we're so gifted with resources and access to information that we should be able to predict things to a certain extent or stop them. And I think for a lot of reasons that's just not possible. I mean, first of all, most of us don't have the bandwidth mentally to keep track of everything that could possibly ruin our day.
Hmm.
But there's a line. But I think that paying too much attention and being so focused on trying to prevent bad things from happening, that's where anxiety comes from. I feel like this idea that like you can prevent something and that preventing it is better than just being strong enough to get through it. Like that's what I'm trying to move away from, this preventative mindset, and move closer to like I'm strong enough to get through it. I don't need to try to stop every bad thing from happening.
Hmm.
I should stop like the major ones, but like put the chairs in the shed, lock my car door so people don't like steal stuff.
Hmm.
But I'm not going to stay up all night like checking security cameras to make sure no one's stealing from my car. I'm just going to know
Yeah.
like I did like the basics of what I should do to prevent the bad thing. And then beyond that, I just have to know that I'm going to be fine. I don't need to be trying to stop it from happening.
Yeah, yeah. Because I try to do the same, or like sometimes before I do preventative actions, just to like not get obsessive over it, is I let the bad thing happen first, and then moving forward, like tackle the problems, prevent the things that have occurred rather than the things that haven't, you know. So like once, I don't know, like if you mess up like a dish when you're cooking, right? It's like if you just overthink and you're paranoid about every single thing and you get cooking anxiety, then that's not serving you, right? But if you just say, all right, I'm just gonna cook, you don't overthink it, you cook, it's like, wow, that was salty. And the next time, right? All right, put less salt. So it's like that's like a very minor problem.
Yeah.
And then you just move forward with that mindset. It's like what I try to do now. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Shoot. It's gone. It's completely gone. Oh, okay. Another thing I was thinking
Yeah.
yesterday with brain farts. What if they had a smell? How would that change life?
You were thinking this?
Yeah, if brain farts had an odor, how would, how would that change life? Because it would be even more embarrassing. If you're just
Is it a positive odor or like a negative odor?
bad, it's a fart.
It's
It's a
like
brain
a fart.
fart.
It's an
Yeah.
actual fart.
Because like I just think of how.
That would make my anxiety 10 times worse because I feel like most of the time when you're having a brain fart, it's in a situation where like it's happening because you're putting so much pressure on yourself
Mhm.
to think through things.
Yeah.
So on top of that, you're in a scenario where you already want to do well,
Yeah.
and now you are emitting an odor that is going to ruin everybody's day.
Yeah, because I think it almost mirrors like a capitalistic regime where the losers lose harder now. Where if you have a brain fart, now people can smell it and go, wow, that person's really messing up. And then
Yeah.
it causes them even more, shame. And then it ruins their thought process and they fart
Yeah,
even more.
that analogy makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, yeah. It really is just a take on our dwindling democracy. Yeah, relationship with problems.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like it got very, I'm glad you ended it on that note because it got very serious there for a second.
Yeah. I completely, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Okay, anything else pre-planned? I had one.
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff.
Okay.
I'm just trying to think if I should save it. I feel like we could make this one a shorter one. Yeah, go ahead. What's your thing?
It was just a short one. I was thinking of, because it was Dirty Waters, having a segment called Sink or Swim, and me asking
I love
you.
segments. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I only had one entry:
Okay.
tortilla chips.
Okay.
Sink or swim.
Oh, sink or swim is like quite genuinely you're gonna give me an object and then I have to tell you if it's gonna sink or swim.
Yeah, and it could change as well. It doesn't have to be the buoyancy of an object.
Hmm. Like emotionally, like figuratively sink or swim.
Figuratively, yeah, both. You can attack it from a spiritual, logical, and
Yeah, so
also
let's start with practical. A tortilla chip is probably going to sink because we know that tortillas are not like reliable. Like they break, they rip.
Mhm. But will water cause it to break or rip?
Yes, 100%. Like, have you ever
Okay.
gotten a wet tortilla? Ew.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess it depends on the engineer as well.
It's full of stuff. Like, it's a ship. There's a mast, and it's Probably made
Okay,
out
so
of
Noah's
wood.
Ark. No, Noah's tortilla ship.
The Ark had a mast.
No, I really cannot tell you.
I feel like it had to have. I'm not sure what the definition of an ark is compared to a ship, but
Hmm.
yeah, and then I think because of the significant structural lack of integrity of a tortilla ship, figuratively it would also sink. I think people would flock to it. Like when the day they reveal it, hundreds of people there
Yeah.
to see it. And I imagine that they covered the tortilla ship with a giant tortilla,
Soft
like
shell.
soft shell tortilla.
Okay. Perfect.
And they're like they yank it down only to reveal. Is this ship completely made of tortilla, or is it like tortilla where the wood
Glue.
outside would be?
I would say, yeah, I say that the glue would just be like some masa or something, just some
So like this ship is 100% like
flour.
flour. So even like the steering wheel, like everything is
Yeah, it's a gluten machine.
double sink.
Double
Like,
sink.
There's nothing redeeming about this.
Nothing.
Are you one of the people, like, are you the one who invented the tortilla ship?
I hope not. I'm no engineer. I could maybe get a schematic, but it wouldn't work. So that's all I got.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say a proper engineer who's just very well diversed in all things nautical.
Yeah.
So no.
No.
Sink.
Sink.
It's a sink.
It's a sink.
It's a sink.
I like the heart that it took to come up with that idea,
Mhm.
but I would never invest in it.
No, you would.
No.
Yeah, it would be like the next Titanic, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any other entries to sink or swim? Because I tried thinking of a net. Because it started off with tortilla chip. It sounds like tortilla chip, and then I was like sink or swim.
Why did I not even get that?
Oh, you did. No.
No, something
Okay.
in my heart was like, that sounds a little familiar, but I just figured because tortilla ship must have occurred to me at some point in my life.
No, okay. So yeah, that's what I was going off of.
No, I think one is all we can handle, and anyone who is
episode.
listening probably can handle as well.
Yeah, so call in if you think a tortilla ship would sink or swim.
I feel like we need to work on the setup of this. Like, I thought in my head that sitting on opposite sides of the sofa was going to be really like ideal.
Yeah.
And I feel like conversationally it is, but on camera, I don't know. I guess we could watch it back and see. It feels like you're really far away.
Yeah, I mean, we could do like a little double chair over the table, a little coffee shop, scenario.
I think so. I wanted it to be aesthetic, but I don't think anything about this is aesthetic. And I didn't even end up changing my clothes because
I didn't know I needed clothes.
you didn't know there was going to be visuals. I
Yeah.
knew, and I'm still in my pajamas. I'm wearing a Twilight sweatshirt. That adversity that we faced in the beginning really was overcoming. That was like all the energy I had. So there was no energy left to change my clothes. So
Mhm.
this is what we're looking like. So I do forget that like random people may actually watch this. Like in my head, I'm talking to like you and I'm talking to like my mom. Like
So
no one else.
where would people watch this? Where can they find Dirty Waters?
Well, if they've gotten to this point, they probably already found it. However,
if they want to spread the word.
if they want to spread the word, I'm anticipating that I'm going to upload it to Spotify and YouTube. So we'll start there. Maybe Apple Podcasts. I haven't done a lot of research on this, to be honest. Do you have any platforms you want it to go up on?
That's all I can think of as well, yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to our first official episode of Dirty Waters. We hope you come back for episode 2, where we'll be talking about what our hopes and dreams are for this podcast, what it's like being a narcissist, and of course, a brand new game of Sink or Swim. Tune in on YouTube or Spotify. See you then.